So today I'm going to be talking about personal branding. I'm sure you're all saying, what is personal branding? Most people don't know what is personal branding. We have a lot of assumptions about what personal branding is. So today I'll put some perspective and some thoughts for us to take home and learn. Branding demands commitment. All the brands that you see today, they were born out of a lot of commitment to continual reinvention, striking the right chords with people to stir up their emotions, and commitment to imagination. It's easy to be cynical about such things, but much harder to be successful. This was said by Richard Branson. Richard Branson owns Virgin Atlantic. Commitment. Everything you do that you want to make different requires commitment. And branding is emotive. It's an emotional thing. It's imaginative. And for you to be successful, you have to work very hard at it. When we did the trailer, I talked about what Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, said. Jeff Bezos said, your brand is what people say about you when you are not in the room. Who are you when you are not in the room? That says it all. Will I say you are dependable? Will I say you are hardworking? Will I say you are a Christian? That is your brand. So now let's talk about what is a brand. I'm now defining a brand. A brand is a perception. It's a perception. Everything about branding is a perception. It's a perception of what someone holds about you as an individual, as a product, a service, or an organization. Your brand can be positive or negative. So it depends on you. You define your brand. People are constantly forming perceptions. From the day you were born, a perception has been formed about you, which is why we have children. We'll say this child is like this. This other child is like this. That is the child's personal brand. And the child didn't create it. So what am I bringing up here? Whether you create it or not, it's being created for you. Even children have personal brands. You say, this my child is a good child. She reads a lot. This child, you send her, she doesn't do it. That's a brand. Your brand is the perception that is formed about you by your person, your product, or your service. And then, what is your brand promise? There's also something called brand promise. Your brand promise is the benefit or experience we want to convey. What do we want to convey? When people work with you as an individual, when you use a product, what do you want to convey? What do you want to convey? Many brands convey various things. People use Apple. Apple phone is is a strong brand. A lot of people that use it want to be elegant. I'm on slide 4. Slide 4. They want to be elegant. They want to be seen as being top there. Not you using Samsung or THC or Huawei or Infinix. I've used Infinix before. I wasn't branding myself very well. So what's your brand promise? You cannot afford to leave it to chance. You can't. Because people are forming perceptions. And because you cannot afford to leave it to chance, next slide please, you have to ensure that you get your brand equity. Brand equity is why I will pay something at a higher price instead of another thing. It's the ability to translate higher volumes and higher profit margins against competing brands or generic counterparts. Why will I pay 100 naira for, let's use something that we all know. Why will I pay 12 million naira for a Jeep and somebody buys a Rio, they can both get us to the same place, but it's the brand equity. It's brand equity. We can even use two small cars. A Mercedes has the sedan, and we have the Rio sedan. Same size, same everything. The brand equity is why somebody will pay more. Why do people pay people who went to Okay, let us use Pastor Femi. Did you all hear the way she spoke now? We all heard her. Will you not call her to speak for you? And you will pay her 100,000 naira. She talks. We all talk. But why would you pay her? And then why will you pay me 100,000? Look at the way I'm talking. I'm certainly not talking the way she talks. So that's her brand equity. That's her brand. So it is why you will pay more for something that you do the same thing, but you pay more for the other. And there are various brands all over the world. I just put examples on the slides. So now, let's go to, next slide, please. Let's go to personal branding. Personal branding. So what I've tried to do was to define branding in general. Personal branding is the art of building a unique brand around yourself. Now, it's all about yourself. It requires you to find a signature image. What is your signature image? What is your unique voice? And what are your recognizable standards? When people work with you or deal with you, what are the standards they see? Do they see good, high standards, or they see low standards? It's you. It's all in your hands. So it's a symbol, the design, your reputation, your name. This separates you from the pack. And today, not leaving your brand in the hands of people is essential. It's something you must ensure that you hold on to and you shape actively. Next slide, please. Behind every known brand, I mentioned Apple. Behind Redeemed Christian Church of God is a brand. Behind every known brand, there was a personal brand first. Behind every known brand. And if there's no personal brand first, it is difficult for that brand because somebody had to believe in that person before that brand became what it was or what it is today. So behind every brand, it starts with a personal brand. People tend to trust people first before they trust any organization. It's the people, it's the person. Organizations are made of people. And it allows you, your personal brand allows you to establish a reputation and an identity. No two people are the same. And in starting your personal brand journey, you have to have a brand vision. Can we move to the next slide? A brand vision. Just as organizations have vision, mission statements, I'm sure most of us, some of us, and not all of us, have attended one organization strategy session where we are defining who we are. Even Redeemed Christian Church of God has its mission and vision. We know, those of us that have done ordination, we had to learn Redeemed Christian Church of God's mission. And even when you are doing believers class, you have to learn what Redeemed's vision and mission is. So that is the same way you have to start the journey of defining what is my personal brand. It starts with your brand vision. Your personal brand is what separates you from everybody in this whole wild world. No two people, I said before, are the same. If I sell ugu in the market, how do I sell it that is different from the next person in the next stall? I am a tailor. What kind of clothes do I sew that is different from the next person? No two people should ever be the same. How do you see yourself? Your brand vision, we're still talking about brand vision. How do you see yourself in the next 10, 20, 50 years? Do you still want to see yourself here, or you have a vision of where you are going to? Where are you going to? You have to think about it. It's structured. Where am I going to? And only you can determine and unfold how you want your personal brand to be. So let's look at some mission statements. And we're going to look at it, next slide please, and we're going to break it down in the following slides. Your mission statement, starting with your vision, can be, I want to be the best in ministry by doing the best work possible and presenting myself distinctly, as well as using communication to separate myself. To be the best in ministry. How do you be the best in ministry? What do you need to put in yourself to be the best in ministry? So when we are talking about personal brand, it is not only what makes you a personal brand is what you put in yourself that makes you distinct. So when you say, I want to be the best in the ministry, how have you developed yourself to be the best minister? How are you presenting yourself to be the best minister? And how are you communicating to the people that you want to impact that you are indeed the best minister? What are you doing? Those are the things that makes your personal brand strong. Or let's take a fruit seller. I want to be the best fruit seller by ensuring I sell the freshest fruits and I display them beautifully for my customers to buy, and I provide excellent customer service that is next to none. So what do? You ensure that you go to that place that has the freshest fruits. You ensure that you know your customers and you call them and you give them good customer service. You ensure that you display your fruits in a way that only you, if people don't see you in that market, they will come and look for you because of your personal brand. So that is your mission statement. And in continuing that journey of determining your personal brand, your mission statement, you also have to ask yourself, who am I? Who am I? The foundation of personal branding starts with authenticity. And I'll tell you a story. Last week, somebody called me and said, when they were showing the trailer, you didn't speak Fune. And I told the person, I don't speak Fune every day. So I will not start speaking Fune because I'm on television. It's not authentic to me. What's authentic to me is that I speak educated English. That's what is authentic to me. So you have to do what is authentic. Okay, so today I come and I'm speaking Fune, tomorrow I speak like me. Won't you wonder what's wrong with me? So you have to be authentic to yourself. You have to identify your passion. Determine the aspects of your life that has been most rewarding. What has been most rewarding in your life? Set your values. Very important. And I'll tell you, values, when we go on, you will find out that values are really what shapes your brand. Your values. Prioritize those values. Identify your ideal traits and then create an ideal ending. All along the lines of authenticity. Who am I? Not anybody else. Because there's something in all of us that is special and unique. And we all need to bring those things out. Many of us don't do it. Many of us haven't discovered it. Many of us don't even know that it can be discovered and it can be portrayed and it can be exhibited. What are the attributes of personal branding? Approachability. You will say, what is approachability? Are you approachable? Are you open to new learning? Everybody that has a strong personal brand is approachable. Name them. I've mentioned Redeemed Christian Church of God. Pastor Adeboye. He's a brand. He's humble. He's giving and he's ready to give. He's reasonable. He commands a presence. He's a guru and subject matter expert. Is there anything in the Bible that Pastor Adeboye doesn't know? That's what makes you a brand. And he's friendly. So those are attributes. So we're not going to talk about how do you reinvent yourself. What are some of the things you can start to do in terms of reinventing yourself? The first thing is that you have to start thinking of yourself as a brand. One thing about me, I never ever want to be like the next person. I'm an individual, I'm unique, and I'm special. I'm nobody else. I am Marie. There's no other Marie in this world but me. That's the truth. So you have to start thinking of yourself as a brand. Look at Wole Soyinka. He's a very intelligent man. He has a lot to offer in terms of literary education. But look at the way he looks. He has decided that is the brand he wants to portray. But why do you listen? If there was somebody else that had nothing in him, dressed like that, would you not think he's a madman? But the only reason you follow Wole Soyinka is what he has inside. The values in him. Who he is inside. So in talking about, I'm sorry, I'm going back. Let's go back to slide 11. Yes, in talking about values, I want to talk about KPMG values because I lived it. KPMG values, KPMG is an organization, it's a professional services organization. I also use another set of values that we will all be able to recognize. The organization doesn't sell Coca-Cola. It doesn't sell sugar. It doesn't sell anything. What it sells are the people. And what sets those people apart from the rest is the values. And I'll read some of them. Lead by example. Work together. Respect the individual. Seek facts and provide insight. Open and honest in communication. Committed to communities. Above all, act with integrity. If you see a real KPMG person, this person will exhibit these values. Because they have to exhibit the values. Otherwise, they will not succeed within the organization. And what determines our, next slide please, what determines our values in church is the Bible. When you see a person with a strong Christian, when you say that person is a Christian, it's because the person is living the values of the Bible. That's his personal brand. So what I'm trying to say here is that your values is what drives your personal brand. First and foremost, your values. And your values can be, I want to be an educator. We've talked about mission statements. We've talked about looking at who you want to be, understanding who you are. Your values drives your personal statement. Next slide, please. And in building your values, it's not easy. It's not easy. And in here, I'll talk about Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela had a strong personal brand. There was nobody that didn't go and visit Nelson Mandela when he came out of prison. The world went to Johannesburg to see him. Why? Because of his values. His values and who he portrayed and decided to be set him apart. And it's born out of courage. It's born out of blood, sweat, fear. Most people that end up having a strong personal brand, they've gone through a lot of hard work. What are you willing to do about your brand? What do you stand for? Are you open to the concept that your brand can be great? Okay. So now, let's talk about reinventing yourself. We've talked about starting to think of yourself as a brand. In the Bible, we have brands, many examples of brands. Nationally, globally, we have examples of brands. Next slide, please. I'm on slide 16. Like we've said before, I'll just reiterate it again because it's very important. Determine your unique value propositions. I have used the example of a fruit seller. I have used the example of a tailor. I have used the example of a minister. Your value proposition is, how best can I be in those things? How best can I be? Identify your goals and your audience, then pay attention to the details. P. Mommy talked about details today. She talked about details. She talked about how the details can make or mar you. She talked about dressing. She talked about appropriate behavior. She talked about appropriate greeting. She talked about so many things. I hope we all heard. These things can make or mar you. Your dressing, your body language. Someone is talking to you and you are doing like this. How will you be? How will you be received? They'll think you are rude. So body language says a lot. Your etiquette, they all need to be consistent with your brand. If your brand is that I'm a rude person, no problem. That's your brand. That is your brand. So if you decide that I'm rude, no problem. Continue. Next slide, please. Then take inspiration from others worth emulating. Again, take inspiration, but you still have to remember to be authentic. So let me give you an example because that may be a bit confusing. Let's use Pastor Gio. Pastor Gio, we all know, is a man of God. He has a style of preaching, which works for him. You decide that you want to come and start talking like Pastor Gio today, and you are not, Daddy Gio, and you're not Daddy Gio. Many of us may walk out of, we will sleep because you don't have his special grace. So what I'm saying is, pick the special attributes that Daddy Gio has, but use it for yourself. Who are you? What's unique about me? So those are the things you need to do. Develop your professional image for those of us in the professional area. And even those of us in the market, what is your image? Again, consistency with your mission and your vision of who you are and the values you want to portray. And you have to do it every day, consistently. Not you do it today, tomorrow you do something else. Be creative, creativity. Don't be boring. Let people see you and say, who is this person? I'm interested in this person. And you'll find out, Steve Jobs that did Apple, you can see that with all the money he had and everything, he wore a turtleneck. And that was the image he wanted to. And you will see him is that Steve Jobs? He picks your interest. Why does Steve Jobs dress like that? Or you see Mark Zuckerberg in his t-shirt. We all heard about all the talk about his t-shirt when he came to Nigeria. But that's the image he wants to create. What he's selling is bigger than what he looks like. Be memorable. Do things that are not ordinary. Don't be ordinary. Don't let people tell you like to stand out. You like to let people notice you. Let them notice you. But let them notice you for good things. Let them notice you. Don't be a wallpaper. Some people are wallpapers. People don't see them. Stand out and be passionate about your passions. What are you passionate about? I have a friend, every time the person wants to talk, talks about cars. He's passionate. And he has branded himself as a car person. So anytime we want to talk, we want to know about cars or want to understand something, we call him, hey, have fun now. Tell us about this car. That's his personal brand. At least that's an interest that he has. So be passionate about your passions. Sister, how good there? If I want to talk IT education, I'll go and meet her. Because she'll tell me in my school, we do this, we do that. In the education field, she never hesitates to talk about education. So, and then another thing you need to do is build a fantastic online presence. A lot of us take our online presence for granted. A lot of people also think that being a social media rat like I am is a time waster. It's not a time waster. It is building your personal brand. What message and how you want people to perceive you, you shape it through social media. And social media is not going anywhere. Very soon we will stop seeing newspapers. Everything will be on social media. So we all need to embrace it. I'm a communication expert, so which is why I'm telling you people this. Don't run away from social media, but use it well. Have a professional headshot. Put a nice picture there. Not just any picture. Let people know who you are. Describe yourself the way you want to be known, succinctly. Have a professional email signature. Many of us don't have this. So when you send me a mail, do I know who you are? Do I know your title? Do I know what you do or what company you are in? Do I know your phone number? You may not want to put your phone number, but anybody you send a mail should be somebody you should be able to give your phone number to. Do you have a website? Do you have email? Do you have an address? Do you have other social media handles that you want people to know about or to follow you on? Build credibility. The only way, this is another point, building credibility is very, very important. Be seen as a genuine expert. Everybody that has built a brand of himself or whatever had a lot of credibility. I will not come to this church if I didn't know that the person that heads this church had a lot of credibility. I won't come here. So be seen as a genuine expert. That's the only way people will follow you. That's the only way people will recognize you. And exude confidence in everything that you do. Don't be shy. Please, I want to... People will walk right past you. Exude confidence. In the things you know, exude confidence. Build your credibility. And be purposeful about what you share. I'm going back to social media now. Be purposeful about what you share. Because there are some people that I actually end up blocking and canceling because I don't want to associate with them. So be purposeful about every tweet, every status update, every picture you share, because they all contribute to your personal brand. Everything you do. So don't think that, I'm just being playful. Many organizations, they want to employ you. They go and search your social media and see what you are doing there. And they form their opinion about your person. I talked about associating with strong brands in the trailer. Who do you associate with? Who do you associate with? What kind of brands? Some people have decided that I'm going to be in the high class. So everything I wear will be designer because that's how they want to be perceived. So when you see them, you yourself, welcome ma. You'll be shaking. This person, you will look for, it doesn't happen in this church, thank God for it. But other churches, when they see somebody that is well dressed, all the ushers, maybe 3 or 4 ushers will go and meet the person. They will look for special seats for the person because the person has branded herself or himself differently and they are treated differently. So how do you associate? The car, by the time they see the car coming, one Pajero or one, no, Pajero is common now. What's that? Range Rover. They will know that this person is a big person. So what kind of brands do you associate with? I'm not saying go and buy something you can't afford. But everything you buy should be the best that you can afford. Everything you buy. When I take the business etiquette class, in my previous employment, I tell people, I say, if you have 3 dresses, make sure they are the best. Don't buy Pokulo wear. I want to have plenty. Then you have plenty, nobody will recognize you. If you are a man with a suit, have just 2 good suits. Don't buy the one that is like this, like that. Have a few, but make sure they are good. Associate yourself with good brands. Then, let me talk about the C's in terms of associating yourself with good brands. What kind of college? Because I'm going to say this because of our children. Because we also need to start shaping the brands of our children. Some of us are too old now to even start doing a lot of the things we should do. But nobody is ever too old. But in talking about the C's, what kind of college did you go to? Or what kind of college are you thinking of sending your child to? Because those things shape their personal brands. Because they get to know people. The more people you know, the more you associate with the high society, the more it expands you. Your company, where do you work? Where do you aspire to work? Or where do you aspire for your children to work? And your colleagues, who do you mix with? In church, who do you mix with? In the office, who do you mix with? The 3 C's shape your brand. It's all part of associating with strong brands. So I'm going to start concluding now. But before I conclude, let me talk about a personal brand usually has a strong narrative. A personal brand always has a strong narrative. It may not be as grandiose as others. But when you start with your vision at the start, and you suffer, and you strive, and you are committed to it, you will have a story to tell. There's nobody that has become somebody that did not have a story. Let me share somebody's story here. We all know Mo Abudu. Mo Abudu owns Ebony Live. I was one of the people that was involved in the recruitment of Mo Abudu when she came from the US and started working in ESO. She started as an admin officer, but Mo had a dream. Even while she was in ESO, she moved from ESO to ExxonMobil. She was HR manager. She resigned because she had a dream. She dabbled into various things. Today, she owns Ebony Life. Today, she's being called the Oprah Winfrey of Africa. But she had a story. She sweated. She did many things that failed. She had a journey. She had a strong narrative. Is it Pastor Adeboye? Is it Pastor PKP? He tells us his stories every day. He didn't become who he is today just today and he's just standing here. He has a strong narrative. So please, why I'm bringing all of this up is that it's not easy to develop your personal brand, but it is doable in your own capacity. A personal brand is like a garden. Once you lay the groundwork, next slide please, and you plant the seeds, next slide, you will be in a great position to eventually reap the benefits. It takes time and dedication. You have to stay consistent with your efforts and authentic and consistent to who you are. You need to pay close attention to how your audience responds to you, because you have to continually reinvent the story so that you are getting it right. And you have to hone your direction until it is razor sharp. In conclusion, and most importantly, a strong brand should be ubiquitous. I'm sure people will say, what does that mean? Thank you. A strong brand should be everywhere. I'm sure even before I came to do, sorry, maybe I'm being conceited here. Even before I came to do this presentation, many people know me. At least I stand out. Maybe it's for one thing or the other. So you have to be ubiquitous. Sister Gbemi stands out. If I go home and I describe somebody, my sister says, oh, that's Sister Gbemi. You stand out. You have a strong personal brand. And you have to be ever evolving. So don't say because I was like this today, this is how I'm going to be. Otherwise, you will become obsolete. And nobody wants to be obsolete. The question I always ask people when I have this conversation about obsolescence is, Nokia. Do we all remember Nokia phone? Nokia. Remember there was a time every single person in this world had a Nokia phone. How many of us have Nokia phones today? You have? Okay. Maybe you are the only one. You two, you have. But there was a time that we all had Nokia phones. Take. Maybe you have. So you have to be ever, that is a story for another day. Innovation. You have to constantly innovate. Otherwise, you'll be dead on arrival. So please, my sisters, let us not take our personal brands for granted. Let us not take the personal brands of our children for granted. Let's start to shape them. And you shape them by the values and by the vision of who you see yourself and where you want to be. Thank you.